In Hebrews, it tells us that Jesus is a high priest who is touched with the feelings of our infirmities. It says he's been tempted in every way like we are tempted, in every way like we're tempted, and yet is without sin. I take this as an incredible, amazing encouragement because I believe what the Word says. I believe that Christ was tempted just like I'm tempted. And when I'm tempted, it's pretty obvious I can sin. And so I believe also that Jesus wasn't immune from sin, but he was instead just avoided. He was perfect. He didn't have any sin. There was none in him. And it wasn't that he couldn't, but in the same way that the first Adam could and did, the only difference is Jesus could and didn't because he was the second Adam. Now, when you're contemplating this reality that he's tempted like we're tempted, one of the places that I find a lot of times, a lot of temptation of the adversary to try to convince me that God's not really listening. There are on occasions times when I pray and God seems far away. Or maybe that he's not hearing. Maybe he's not responding. Maybe I can't sense him. He doesn't feel close and responding. And so as I looked at it, and those are the times that the adversary tempts us, don't bother praying, don't give up, or don't keep it up. God's not listening. Just give it up. And we have a high priest, Jesus, who understands exactly what that feels like because when he was on the cross and he was coming to the end of this mission to save humanity, he went through the whole list and he'd come up and he knew he was at the very end. And he quoted a verse from the first verse from Psalms 22. And the first verse from Psalms 22 says, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? The rest of Psalms 22 is an amazing description of the crucifixion, all the things that were going on, all the things that were happening, an incredible description. And I look at this and I think, I'm so amazed by Jesus because one of the things that is greatly misunderstood about the passion is that there will never be another human being that can suffer the way Christ suffered because he couldn't die. He was immortal as the first Adam was immortal, and they couldn't kill him. He could have come off the cross at any point and been totally healed and restored. It wasn't a sacrifice in that they killed him. It was more as if he threw himself on the grenade to protect those around. Yes, his life was required, but it wasn't taken from him. He gave it. And when it got to the end, he made a statement. He said, it is finished, indicating that this is accomplished. Because he couldn't die, he endured more torture than we would even live for, let alone stay conscious for. And he was not only alive, but conscious for the entire amount. So it's beyond imagination. We can't even fathom what he suffered. And at that moment, he said, God, I have never felt so far away from you. I've never felt so distant. Now you think about this. At this moment, when he feels this distance, he has to make the most difficult decision of his life because, as I said, they couldn't kill him. He could have just come down. And Romans tells us that the reason that we are able to receive the gift of eternal life is that we believe that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. We believe that he died, and we believe that God raised him on the third day. This is a very important distinction because when Jesus is hanging on the cross and he looks to his Father and says, it is finished, into your hands I commend my spirit, all of that suffering, all of that hurt, all of that pain, all that he experienced would have been for nothing if his Father did not get him up in 3 days. Paul says, without the hope of resurrection, our faith is worthless. So understand that when you feel God's far away, Jesus understands. And what an example of faith, that even when God seemed far away to him, even when he felt the farthest he had ever experienced, the biggest separation he'd ever experienced, he made the biggest decision of his entire life to trust his Father and to say, into your hands I commend my spirit. And so what can we learn from the faith of Jesus? Everything. He made it possible for us. He said, I'm with you. I will empower you to do what I did. And if we will submit, we can learn amazing things and grow and be everything He made us to be.